Rosa Neal Greenhow was born in October 1817 and died 1864. Rose didn't become interested in espionage until her husband died and when she met John C. Calhoun, who was a Southern politician. Rose fell into a deep depression after her husband died, and Calhoun convinced her to support the secession of the Confederacy Army. She was placed inside of a spy ring deep inside the Union capital, which was Washington, D.C. at the time. On July 9, 1861, and July 16, 1861, Greenhow passed secret messages to Confederate General Beauregard containing critical information regarding the First Battle of Manassas or the First Battle of Bull Run and the plans of Union General Irvin McDowell. Confederate President Jefferson Davis credited Greenhow's information with securing victory at Manassas for the Confederate Army over the Union Army. Unfortunately, her streak didn't last long, as on August 23, 1861, Alan Pinkerton, head of the recently formed Secret Service, apprehended Greenhow and placed her under house arrest. Other leaked information was traced back to Greenhow's home, and upon searching her home for further evidence, Pinkerton and his men found maps of Washington fortifications and notes on military movements. The second person who made spying successful was Alan Pinkerton from the Union Army. He originally lived in Scotland, but moved to the United States in 1842 when he was 23. In the 1850s, he started his own private detective agency in Chicago. Prior to his service with the Union Army, he developed several investigative techniques that are still used today. Among them are shadowing, which was surveillance of a suspect, and assuming a role, which was undercover work. Following the outbreak of the Civil War, Pinkerton served as head of the Union Intelligence Service in 1861 and 1862. He foiled an alleged assassination plot in Baltimore, Maryland, while guarding Abraham Lincoln on his way to his inauguration. His agents often worked undercover as Confederate soldiers and sympathizers in an effort to gather military intelligence. Pinkerton served in several undercover missions under the alias of Major E.J. Allen. Pinkerton was succeeded as Intelligence Service Chief by Lafayette Baker. The Intelligence Service was the forerunner of the U.S. Secret Service, and as you can see, Pinkerton was one of the main forces behind the spying in the Union Army and in the Civil War. Unfortunately, I do not have a picture of Elizabeth Van Lew, but here's a picture of Mary Bowser, her former slave and friend. Elizabeth Van Lew was born in October of 1818 in Richmond, while her father owned a hardware store. He had many slaves help him, and she attended a Quaker school, and that's where she was first exposed to abolitionism. After her father passed away, Van Lew and her mother freed some of the slaves, including Mary Bowser, who was a personal friend of Van Lew. During the outbreak of the war, Van Lew began working on behalf of the Union Army. She aided prisoners in escape attempts, passing them information about safe houses, and getting a Union sympathizer appointed to the prison. Prisoners gave Van Lew information on Confederate troop levels and movements, which she was able to pass on to Union commanders, such as Ulysses S. Grant. On top of that, Van Lew also operated a spy ring of 12 people during the war, including clerks in the War and Navy departments of the Confederacy and a Richmond mayoral candidate. It has even been suggested that Van Lew was able to have Mary Bowser, who was a slave hired by Varina Davis, which allowed Bowser to spy on the White House of the Confederacy. However, Varina Davis adamantly denied ever hiring Bowser, and no hard evidence exists for either side. However, after the war ended and the Reconstruction was already starting, she was being ostracized by other people in Richmond by calling her a traitor and a slave lover. She died on September 25th, 1900, leaving behind a powerful legacy as the greatest spy in the Civil War.